Welcome to the MamasteFit podcast Birth Story Friday. In this episode, Alesha is going to be sharing her 2 VBAC birth stories that were after 2 C-sections, which is not common, but she was supported by her medical provider to have a VBAC after 2 C-sections and then another VBAC. I was also her doula for her first VBAC, which was really exciting. So she is a very special person to me, and we're really excited for you to hear her story. Welcome to the MamasteFit podcast. This is Gina, perinatal fitness trainer and birth doula.
And this is Roxanne, labor and delivery nurse and student midwife.
And this is the MamasteFit podcast, where we empower you on your prenatal fitness, birth, and postpartum return to fitness journey.
Our podcast shares how to move throughout your pregnancy to stay strong and comfortable. Pain is not a requirement of pregnancy. Understand the science of birth and how to approach recovery after birth.
We share our personal experiences as mothers navigating the stage of lives, plus our professional expertise as birth workers and fitness professionals.
Our goal is to help you feel confident as you navigate the perinatal timeframe for an empowering pregnancy, positive birth, and postpartum journey.
We are glad to have you with us on this journey and that you've chosen us to support you. Welcome to the MamasteFit podcast. In this episode, Alesha is going to be sharing her 2 C-section birth stories and then her 2 VBAC birth stories after 2 C-sections. So thank you so much for being here, Alesha.
You're so welcome.
So let's get into your first 2 birth stories. How did you prepare for your first pregnancy and your second pregnancy? And then we'll dive into your 2 birth stories.
Okay. Now the first one I didn't prepare. It was just I was going along with everything, eating processed foods. Mainly the 2 foods that I enjoyed the most was Chef Boyardee, the little raviolis.
Those are delicious.
Yes. And so
now I'm going to go get some of those because now I'm craving it.
The spaghetti.
Yes, I was eating those all the time. And Takis had just came out, I think, and I was eating Takis with the cheese in the can that you spray. And so I was spraying, on some Takis. But I did not prepare for my first pregnancy. I just went along with the doctors. I don't know. I didn't prepare like I did my other 3. Yeah, 3. EJ was an easy pregnancy. I don't know. I think I should have done some things different. I should have ate right. Overall, I wasn't sick during the pregnancy that I remember. Going through doctor's appointments, my blood pressure was always good, healthy weight, everything was good. Leading up until 38, 39 weeks, and then I started having pains in my stomach or whatever and throwing up in the middle of the night. And so I didn't know that was a sign of preeclampsia. So I went to the doctor. No, I didn't make it to my appointment. I had to go to the emergency room. That's when the doctor did lab work or whatever on my liver. And he was like, I got to admit you today. And I was 39 weeks. Because I was ready to push him out. But got to the hospital and they were like, well, we're just going to prep you for a C-section just in case. So I got really, really sick. And the doctor was like, either we take the baby now or you're going to probably have a seizure. That's how high my blood pressure went up. And so I had a C-section with him at 1 o'clock in the morning. And then that was his birth story. And then my second one, I tried to prepare, but she was breech all the time. And I got to maybe 37 weeks and she was not turning. So the doctor was like, by 39 weeks, if she's not turning, we're just going to do a scheduled C-section, or you can try for VBAC. So I did the VBAC. I tried for the VBAC, and then I got induced. All the signs were there that I should have left that hospital that night because they didn't have a room for me.
No room in the inn.
They were like, you got to wait. So it was 11 o'clock at night when I finally got a room. Mind you, I've been there all day. And not even a room yet. And they were like, okay, we've got a room ready. I should have went home because she wasn't ready. I didn't know, at the time that if you're not ready, if your body's not ready, then you should just go home.
Did you have any high blood pressure at this point? Or
No, but I did get tested for gestational diabetes. I did the 3-hour glucose test with her. I passed it. So I didn't have gestational diabetes with her. We did do an induction for her. It failed. the doctor was just like, you're on a time clock now, because of course they broke my water. With both my first one and my second one, they broke my water. I did not know my rights. I didn't know nothing going into the hospital. I just thought, hey, the doctors know what they're doing.
So what was the reason for the induction with the second? Was it just because you were a VBAC, or what was the reason?
I was a VBAC and I just was ready. I pushed it. He was just like, you don't have to do it. But I was just like, we can do it. Now, knowing what I know now, if I could go back, I'd be like, we're not going to do the induction. We're just going to roll with it. So I ended up with a C-section. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon the next day. Because I think I got my water broke that same day that I was having the induction. That was a Friday. So I had her on a Saturday. And I cried. I was like, can you please wait like 2 more hours? And he was just like, no. Basically, your time is up because your water's been broken for a long time. So that was that. She was born by C-section. I can't say with the first one, it was kind of traumatic because I was in the recovery room by myself until I got to him. Now with the second one, that's when they like brought in like a stork. They call it a stork now, and stork nurses. So I was able to nurse her in the recovery. It was pretty much an easy C-section recovery in the recovery room.
So let's get into your third birth then. So how did you decide to prepare for your third pregnancy? So usually after someone's had 2 C-sections, the assumption is they're going to have another C-section, but that's not what you wanted. You wanted to have a VBAC. So how did you prepare for the third?
I started diving in as soon as I was like 8, 9 weeks. I was like going to doctor's appointments, and it was like, yeah, so when do you want to sign up for your C-section? And I was like, I'm not having a C-section. I thought that I could try again. And they were like, no, policy this, policy that. And so I started looking up doulas around my area. Of course, there's no doulas around my area. So I had to venture out a little 30 minutes away. And I found this wonderful chick. She's so awesome.
Gina was her doula.
Surprise. Gina was my doula, and she just made me feel comfortable about everything. So I started eating better. I started trying to exercise and, prepare my body for what was to come. I didn't know what to do. And so just having that extra person and that extra support system through that pregnancy was awesome. I did, what else I did? I went to a chiropractor. I got prenatal massages. I did a lot of, stretches, and I think it's, mouse circuit that I was doing all the time.
And you found a new provider.
Oh, yeah. I was going to get to that, Gina.
Oh, sorry.
So
jumping ahead.
So in my endeavors, I think I was about 4 or 5 months pregnant. I was like halfway. No, 4 or 5 months. And then I started looking for providers, and I went to Charlotte, and people around me thought I was crazy. Like, you going all the way to Charlotte? I was like, is my doula going to come all the way to Charlotte?
She went too fast. She also didn't tell me. We'll get to that part too.
So, change providers, awesome providers. They just let me go with the flow. They let me make my own choices and decisions about my body, about my baby. I did end up with gestational diabetes this time around, so I had to rearrange my whole diet a little bit. Had some kind of hiccups there, but everything was good. Leading up to the birth, I was walking all the time. I was always constantly getting text messages from Gina. Are you doing what you're doing? Are you helping the baby get down and all of this? But about my labor and delivery part. So I thought I was in denial. I didn't think that I was actually in the labor stage. I was doing my daughter's hair. I was getting extra things ready because I knew I had to go to the hospital. I just didn't know that I needed to get to the hospital
quickly 2
hours before. So I called triage, and triage was like, yes, come on in. It was 7:30 at this point. I did not text Gina after I talked to the triage nurse. I was letting it ride, I was just like, I'm just letting this ride. And so,
famous last words.
I was just like, okay, so about 9:30, 10 o'clock, I said, hey, Gina, I'm headed to the hospital. She was like, what do you mean?
You've been in labor this whole time?
And I was like, yes, I lost my mucus plug. Didn't know I didn't know nothing about that. Mucus plug just fell out, so I thought my water broke. No, it was just the mucus plug. Funny. I'm on my way. And we get like to the corner. I don't know if you remember like the corner area where you got to go up into the garage. And my husband's like, I don't know which way to go. And so I just look at him and I'm like, as many times as you've been up here, you don't know which way to go. And I'm like, because I'm having contractions like back to back. And I didn't know I was in active labor. And so I get up there, they're checking me, whatever. And they're like, she's at a 10. We've got to get her to the room. And then she checked me again and she was like, no, you're at a 7. So Gina's on the phone. And my husband's like, you're not getting any medicine. Y'all not giving her. And I was like, well, I'm 7 centimeters. I need something, like IV meds, something. She says, do you fucking want this or not? And she was like, if you get that medicine, you don't know what's going to happen. And she's just, talking to me, like trying to get me to understand. And I just didn't understand because I was like, give me 30 minutes. That's all I'm asking, 30 minutes. And then I got it after that. Just give me 30 minutes. Oh, man.
Can we just pause this for...
Can we just pause it? Because I've never been through this pain. I've always had an epidural. I had an epidural for the first 2. And I just needed something, like IV meds, nitrous gas. Give me something, because I just need 30 minutes. And they were both like, no. Her and my husband was like, no. Like, we're your support system and you're not getting it. I feel bad. She didn't even have to say it like that. Like, all I needed was 30 minutes.
I think I was nicer than that. I think your memory of it is a little bit more aggressive.
She felt super aggressive.
She really was aggressive. But I thank them for that. I pushed maybe 3 or 4 times. I tore a little bit. That was the first time, me ever experiencing labor and labor pains. I just can't believe I was 7 centimeters that fast. That was crazy. I didn't have nobody there to check. So, like, I was just sitting there doing hair. But Gina ended up getting there. I do thank her for even showing up because I should have been proactive and said something, but I didn't know.
Well, I mean, that was your first time, like, really experiencing labor, and you've had this whole pregnancy where everyone's been telling you, like, you should just get a C-section, like, you're crazy for wanting a VBAC. We went through all this effort to find a provider that was, like, 2 hours away. I guess it's maybe a little closer for
maybe
you.
An hour and 30.
For me, it was about 2 hours. And because, like, going up to Raleigh was, like, not great for you. And so going to Charlotte was a better option. And I was like, well, we're going to do this.
Yeah. We was all
and so you never experienced labor before. And you're like, oh, this is nothing. And then, like, your water breaks. And I'm, like, trying to figure out what to do with my kid. And I'm, like, running around town.
Throws her in my bed and says, I gotta go, goodbye. I'm like, oh, hello.
Your husband's calling me and he's like, the baby's coming. And then he's like, just kidding. She's only 7 centimeters. And I'm like 2 hours away. And I'm like, just cross your legs or something. Like, so I'm driving. I'm on the phone with you and you're like, just give me 30 minutes. And I'm like, it's not just going to stop. And I'm like, do you remember what happened in your last births? Like, do you want that to happen again? Because, like, I knew you were so close. I was like, this baby's going to fall out. I'm not going to make it. But the baby's right there. The baby's right there. And then you start, like, pushing. And I'm, like, cheering you on. And, yeah, it's the only birth I've ever missed. The only birth I've missed. And I'm very sad about it because that would have been an epic one to be there for. But I did continue the drive. I still had like an hour and a half to go by the time.
sorry.
No, don't apologize.
You should apologize. I wanted to be there. This was about me.
We can do a do-over.
I mean, we don't have to tell your husband about number 5.
How did you feel after that birth, though?
I felt great. I felt like all odds were beaten. I felt like I wanted to go to my other providers and be like, hey, I did it. Like, even the one that told me if I came in there 10 centimeters that she was going to take me for a C-section.
She's going to strap you down to the table and
Of
give you a
course.
C-section.
After that, I was like, we need to find a new provider.
Consent.
After that appointment, I was crying. I was just like, I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh. And Jenna was like, it's going to be all right. We're going to find some way for you to have this baby. It's just awesome how one provider can say one thing and then you go somewhere else and you're treated a whole different way. I wasn't able to see the midwives on that pregnancy, though, because I still had to be up under OB care. But they still were great. Awesome.
So what was the difference between your third pregnancy and your fourth? Because you had a VBAC for the fourth as well.
Right.
But we didn't go through the same
Process.
4 or 5 months of figuring out where we were to go, because you were able to just start your pregnancy with your new
them.
provider. So how was
Right.
your fourth pregnancy?
It was a breeze. I mean, it was at ease. I did not do as much as I did with the third one. I just took it with patience and I just took my time. With this baby, I did have gestational diabetes. I think it's just something with the girls and the way I eat, because I eat everything when I'm pregnant with girls. Gestational diabetes. I was diet controlled with both, with my third pregnancy and fourth. I was able to be up under midwife care, which was the best thing ever. I mean, a total different experience. If I was to ever go through it again, I would definitely pick midwives again. I'm not a home birth woman like you guys, but you guys rock it each time. It was a beautiful experience, though. I did keep in contact with you a little bit during my pregnancy. I tried to be more independent, not as dependent as I was on the third one. So...
Well, now you had your confidence. You knew
I
that
know,
you
I
could.
was boosted.
You
I was
knew
just
you
like,
can have a
I
vaginal
got
birth.
this.
Gina this time.
I got this. I don't need, but wait, let's backtrack a little bit. I did start seeing the providers here for a little bit. And then after a while, after it didn't get past it, they would be like, okay, on the VBAC for my fourth one, that's when I went back to Charlotte and was able to see midwives. I see midwives all through my care. The only time that I didn't see a midwife is when they weren't available. So I did see an OB here and there. Overall, the pregnancy went great. Now, labor and delivery, I did better, you guys. I did better.
Well, you did great the third time.
And all my births happened at night. The only one that did not happen at night was my second one.
That's because you're induced.
Right, I was induced. But they seem like they happen at night because I labored all that day, all Saturday. I walked. My mom has this big old hill. I walked up that maybe a couple of times, and I felt the contractions each time. And I said, I'm just keep walking until I get tired. So I did that. And then the next day, which is Sunday, hair again. I had somebody to do their hair, and they kind of didn't do it. So I had to do my girl's hair. And I felt contractions, and I was like, oh my gosh, tonight is going to be the night in my head. And so by 8 o'clock, I told, my husband, hey, we might need to get packed up. This was about 8 o'clock. And I was like, we got to go. So I went and got my mom. She went with me this time. We picked up my mama. And let's see, my contractions were maybe 10 to 15 minutes apart at this point. I wanted to get there early this time.
Give yourself a moment to catch your breath.
Yes. So I picked her up. We get midway to Louisville. My mom says, hey, do you guys have the car seat? And I'm thinking, yeah, I told them to pick the car seat up. I'm looking back and forth for the car seat. So we had to turn back around. That's another 30 minutes. And so I'm still fine. We get there at about 11:30. I'm at a 3 centimeters. And I'm like... thinking in my head. No, actually, I was like a 2, and she said, and stretchy. I'm like, I should have just waited. But then, I was in triage from 11:30 to 2. She put me in a room at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was at a 3 when she checked me in at 2. She just like, get some rest, go to sleep. And I was like, I'm not going to sleep. I am not going to sleep. I got up and I started squatting on the side of the bed with the rail, and I was walking around, and they were like, you really need to, rest. I mean, your labor's going fine. You need to rest. So I was able to get wireless monitoring, which was cool. I didn't know about it until I think early on in my pregnancy, I learned about it, I think, yeah. And I said I wanted that. And the midwife was like, I asked her, I said, can I have something to eat? She's like, yeah, but don't tell nobody.
Secret snack.
Secret snacks. She made sure she fed me. She did cut me off with eating about the next morning. About 9:30, she was just like, hey, you want a bowl of soup or something? But after that, she was just like, can you drink some water for me? So we're going through that, and I went to the bathroom, and I just felt so much pressure. And I was just like, I got to be close. So I had another midwife in there. I think she was a trainer. And she had me stand by the wall. And, I had to pick my stomach up so the baby would drop a little more. And I said, oh, this is, like, it was painful, but, it worked. I got really hot. This delivery was different. Only because I felt everything at a slower rate than I did the first one. I don't remember getting hot flashes. I don't remember sweating. And this time I felt all the sweating, all the hot flashes. The Ring of Fire is like the worst ever. I didn't push on my back this time. I pushed on my side because the baby's heart rate was going down. So she was like, let me flip you to your side. And I was like, I'm going to push on my side. Okay, well, let's do it. And so I pushed and she just came out with just ease and grace. Like, hey, that's what I wanted to do the whole time. Turn over. And she's still a boss. She's still a boss, baby.
She took her time during the labor and that pushing. She was like, fine.
I was able to take a nap. I was just worried. And I was like, do I text Gina or do I just leave her alone? Because she's technically not like my doula, but I'm nervous.
I'm invested.
I'm so nervous. But me and Gina are invested at this point, so I feel like if I call on her,
I will always answer. So how was the difference between your first VBAC and your second VBAC? So prenatal care was a lot different. How was the birth experience in comparison?
It was awesome. But only because the midwives and the whole team was just different. Like, it's the difference between having an OB and the nurses. But when you got all midwives in there, well, I had 2 midwives and 2 great nurses. And they handled, I had meconium in, like, when she was born. So the meconium team came in, and they just handled it so great. Because I didn't even know that, like, that's what was happening. That's how quick they got it all up and made sure she was fine, and I was just like, wow. But it was a big difference, a big change. If I was ever to do it again, I would definitely do midwives.
And how was your recovery difference postpartum between your C-sections and your VBACs?
C-sections were rough. I do not have a high pain tolerance. I know I have 4 children, but the pain tolerance, when you got to get up, you have to make yourself get up with a C-section. You have to make yourself wash. And then the constant, is it clean? Is it dry? Do I need to do anything? Is it stinking? And all of the things with a C-section. VBAC, it's just like, making sure it's clean down there. And the healing process was great. I really snapped back maybe like after 3 weeks. I didn't, feel any pain or nothing like that. But with my C-sections, I was down. I was down maybe the whole 6 weeks.
So what advice do you have for somebody that's wanting to have a VBAC after multiple C-sections? What would be like your top 2 or 3 tips?
Get a doula. Number one, get a doula. Number 2, make sure your notes, make sure you have your facts when you go to these doctors and providers. Know your rights. The 3rd thing, believe in yourself. Don't give up. Believe in yourself. Don't let them psych you out. Don't let them trick you out. Don't, you got this. If I can do it, I know you can do it.
And you did amazing. I was really glad to be your doula for those births.
Oh.
And if you have another one, I'm here for you.
I knew you was going to say it because I was thinking in my head, well, man.
I'm here for number 5.
These birth stories just makes you want to have all
it
the
made
kids.
Like all the
I know.
babies.
Roxanne's like, I'm done at 3. Oh, are you?
I am.
Are you
done at 3? It takes 2 people to make a baby. But it's hard to close that book on
chapter.
birth, like experiencing birth and pregnancy
It's so beautiful.
Right. Because I didn't even think of that when I left the hospital. I was like, well, I didn't think that it was the end, but every time I looked at her and I was just like, hey, I might not have another one like this. You know, like in my postpartum, I'm like, oh, wow.
It's like your last. Your last first.
Oh, I'm not going to see him hold the car seat out the door. You know, with the last baby, I forgot how to strap her in. Like it's been 4 years. Like,
Yeah.
But if I was to have another one, I think I would have to do the doula experience again, and the whole way through the right way, and make sure I contact you. Even if I have to get in contact with Roxanne, hey, I need you guys.
Any twinge of pain, please tell me.
Right. So you didn't make that clear. I don't think you made that clear. Like, hey.
I should have been more clear. If you think anything is happening, you thought you were probably bothering me too much. You're like, I text this girl all the time. I need to leave her alone.
I did. I was texting Gina all the time. But overall, I would definitely want a VBAC over a C-section any day.
Well, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and sharing your birth stories, and then also for trusting me as a doula. That was like a really big deal. I was a new doula at the time too.
And you didn't tell me that.
I know. I was like within my first year of being a doula, and Alesha came here
and a VBAC on
trusted me to be her doula for VBAC after 2 C-sections, and it was a really big deal to me to be able to support you throughout your pregnancy.
Baby, yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Chris. When my wife and I first found out we were going to be parents, I was admittedly pretty overwhelmed. I had no idea what to expect during pregnancy, labor, and birth, and I knew I wanted more than anything to be able to confidently support my wife during what would be one of the most physically and emotionally intense experiences of her life. Deciding to take the MamasteFit childbirth education course truly changed my entire outlook from being nervous and unsure of what to do or say to feeling calm and prepared to advocate for my family. In the MamasteFit childbirth education course, I learned what to expect overall, how to read the stages of labor, and tons of different comfort techniques to better support my wife during them, and most importantly for me, what questions to ask and what rights we were entitled to with our birth provider and location. We learned how to communicate our birthing desires, and I felt so much more equipped to calmly stand my ground and be a rock for my wife where I otherwise would have felt unsure of how to avoid just feeling like another helpless body in the room. I know for a fact this course elevated my experience as a new father, and then again when we welcomed our second baby, and I cannot recommend it more to all birth partners out there. Thank you, Gina and Roxanne, for all that you do to educate and empower us.
So with Alesha's story, the thing that I think we can all probably pull from it is it's really, really important to choose a supportive provider, especially if you are wanting a VBAC. Like that's probably like the number one thing that I would recommend to somebody who is wanting a VBAC, because we get that message a lot of like, what can I do to prepare for a vaginal birth after C-section? I say find a supportive provider. Find a provider that truly believes in your ability to give birth in the way that you want and is going to guide you through that experience, because you don't want to finish your labor, and whether you have a VBAC or you have a C-section, and feel like you weren't given a chance, which is what she felt in her first 2 births, was she wasn't given the opportunity to try. And so when she was navigating her 3rd pregnancy, and the provider essentially told her, like, we'll strap you down and give you a C-section if you show up in labor, which I would not classify that as supportive. I would also classify that as we should get consent maybe before we do things to people. But she essentially, like, if she ended up with a C-section in that 3rd birth and she stayed with that provider, she would have probably still felt like she didn't get a chance, as opposed to when she switched to her new provider, which was a further drive. It was like an extra hour drive. When she saw that provider, if she had a C-section, when they were so supportive of her having a VBAC, it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe this baby needed to be born that way. And I feel like maybe it would have been a little bit more of like an accepting experience, as opposed to feeling like I didn't get a chance. And so it's really important that we choose a provider that supports us in whatever way that we want to give birth. If you want to give birth at home, you want to have a vaginal birth, you want to have a cesarean birth, like choosing a provider that truly supports you and your birth desires is incredibly important. And then also knowing that that provider may not be the closest one to you. You may need to drive a little bit further to find that provider that you do want to work with. But Roxanne, what recommendations do you have for somebody that does not want to drive further for another provider. Or maybe there isn't one that's within 2 hours. Like the next one is like 4 hours away. Like they're in an area that doesn't have tons of medical providers to support them during their birth.
That's really hard, is that it is the reality for a lot of people. Not everyone has another option that they can go to, especially in rural areas. Like for us, we have to drive an hour away or an hour and a half away if you want a different provider. And that's not feasible for everybody. Some people labor too quickly, so that's not an option. Or they don't feel comfortable being in a car for an hour and a half, 2 hours to like find somebody else. So things that you can do is have a really good support team. So having, if it's your partner as well as a doula who can advocate for you, and then having like research to be able to have discussions with providers of why they're making certain recommendations. Because no one, hopefully, in like the OB field or midwifery field is out to like sabotage your birth. They're doing things that they think is the best for you, but it might not be what you think is best for you.
They also may not be communicating it in a way that you understand.
Like they might not have that
like they might not have good bedside manner.
Yeah, they might not have like a filter, so they're just being very blunt. And for some people, that's not a way to communicate with them efficiently. And for other people, that is a really like a way that they're like, yeah, thank you, I really appreciate it. And that's why there's the fact that there are so many different providers out there. You can find one that will fit with you within a practice sometimes. Like one provider, seeing the same provider, sometimes you can build that rapport, and then that provider will just come for your birth if you like, they really like you. So usually it's like finding a provider within the practice that maybe you enjoy seeing and hopefully will come to your birth can be really beneficial to like build that rapport and know that you can trust them if you go into labor, but also having the people there so that you don't have to advocate for yourself in the middle of labor. They can advocate for you knowing what you want, and that it is also evidence-based. So sometimes like I think doulas will be able to have more evidence based off of like the experience that they had at other births to be like, hey, like maybe we can ask this question, or like, hey, I've seen this. Is this another option that we could utilize because she's wanting X, Y, and Z? And also bring in your nurse. Like a lot of, again, the nurses are hopefully not out to like sabotage your birth and give you this like terrible birth experience. We want you to have an empowering and beautiful birth. But if you don't kind of bring us into the fold and try to allow us to support you and advocate for you, then it makes it harder for us.
And also your partner.
Yeah.
Educating your partner or helping your partner be educated on your preferences during your birth so that they can advocate for you to be like, yeah, she said this, they said that. Like, yeah. No, thank you.
And if your partner is non-confrontational,
really, it's not the doula's role to advocate. Like, I am not there to make decisions for people, but I am there to provide information and to make them understand what other options they maybe didn't realize they had, and also kind of alert the staff to there's other options too, where I'm like, I wonder if we could do this. So I'm not ever going to make a decision for somebody.
But like you can prompt questions.
Yeah. So that's usually really beneficial. So if you can't find another provider or you don't want to travel further because that isn't realistic for everybody, setting up your support team to help like stand up for you and advocate for you is going to be really, really important. Things that you can try to figure out whether or not this provider is a good fit for you. Maybe you do want to travel or you do want to explore other options, is start asking questions like right away on the things that you're kind of like hoping for.
Yeah.
And get a good gauge of how are they responding to you. If you're like, hey, I really want to learn about this birth intervention. I want to understand how your practice uses it. And they're like, we'll talk about that later. That's a red flag to me. Or if they're like, it's perfectly safe and they only talk about like the benefits of it. So like if your provider only talks about the risks of VBAC, but never also talks about the risks of C-section, that's a red flag to me as well. And so you can kind of gauge like personality and kind of feel from your provider and whether or not you're like, you know what, I trust this provider and their recommendations that are in my best interest, and they're not making them out of convenience, out of whatever. Like if you can't go into your birth feeling like that, you're already going to be starting from like a negative place where you're going to be going in like you have to fight, and that's just not a way to go into
and it also makes the entire pregnancy more stressful if you don't feel like you could be trusted or like safe when you go into labor. Like you're going to be fearful and stressed your entire pregnancy of like, oh my gosh, well, what's going to happen when I go into labor and like they try to have me do something that I don't want to do. And that just spirals. It just keeps spiraling as like, it's like a snowball going down a mountain. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it smashes.
So in Alesha's story, I think the thing that was probably most important besides me,
obviously Gina not even
me,
being there,
was that she found a provider that was truly supportive of her birth desires and her wishes.
And believed in her.
And she had 2 unmedicated vaginal births after having 2 C-sections when she was told her pelvis is just too small and it's just never going to fit a baby through it. And so for me, like, her being able to have the birth experience that she was seeking with a provider that she can truly trust, I know just hands down, like, was a game changer for her birth experience and her journey into motherhood. So if you are trying to navigate a VBAC after multiple C-sections, a VBAC, or just birth in general, and you're just trying to explore options, the number one thing is to find a supportive provider.
Your provider can make or break your birth experience.
Definitely the most important thing. So thank you so much for listening to this birth story and for listening to one of my near and dear doula clients share her experience giving birth.
She was like one of your first.
She was like, I think the first person that hired me, one of the first. Yeah, so she didn't know that.
But you were great from the beginning.
I was very confident from the beginning.
beginning.
So thank you so much for listening to this birth story. If you are pregnant and you want more support throughout your pregnancy, you can join our online prenatal fitness programs and online childbirth education course. Our prenatal fitness programs are designed to help you stay strong throughout your pregnancy, pain-free throughout your pregnancies, while also helping you prepare for birth, whether you're planning to have a vaginal birth or cesarean birth. Our childbirth education course is going to go over all of your options, or most of them, maybe not every single one, a lot of your options for birth so that you can figure out when certain options may be good for you, when you may want to opt for a different alternative, so that you can make decisions that work best for you during your birth, regardless of what like Sally down the street may decide to do. And so if you want to check out our online courses, you can check them out at MamasteFit.com and use code STORY10 to get 10% off.
If you're postpartum and you're looking to return back to fitness, we have lots of different postpartum programs that you can utilize to return back to running, Olympic weightlifting. We have an on-demand version as well as just general fitness. And we also have a postpartum education course to know what to expect in the postpartum as well as what to expect with your baby in the postpartum. And then little bonuses of infant and toddler CPR and infant massage.
If you're a professional and you want to learn from us while earning CEUs, you can check out our birth workers course and our pre- and postnatal fitness trainer course. Again, you can check them all out on our website at MamasteFit.com and use code STORY10 to get 10% off any of our online offerings.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We release new episodes every Wednesday that are educational and then new birth stories every Friday.